In this video, I'm going to go through some problem-solving strategies. These were originally developed by George Polya quite a long time ago, so not too old, but he believed that the skill of problem solving could and should be taught. So a lot of times people have trouble with word problems because they just are kind of at a loss of where to start is a big part of it. So this goes through a very explicit process. So this has 4 principles, and they're right under here. Now I've adapted a little bit things I've added that I put in italics, and this was consolidated by people at Lewis and Clark State College as well, so it's kind of been a little refined. This process fits into the grading rubric that I'll use for when I'm grading word problems. So that's why I've used some of my own language to try to help you kind of match it up so it looks the same more readily. So understand the problem is a big thing. So you're going to identify what you're trying to find and label it. So a lot of times, you know, obviously you want to read through it and kind of get a feel for what's going on, but sometimes people just start writing stuff down and not kind of thinking about where they're trying to get to. So that's kind of a key thing, is read through the problem and then kind of figure out what you're trying to find. So that's the main thing. Then draw a picture to help you understand the problem, restate the problem in your own words, maybe read it out loud. Can you work out some numerical examples that would make the problems more clear? Like maybe put some numbers in to make it more concrete, or think of a situation. And then figure out what you need to use from the problem. And then there's a lot of times extraneous information that you can kind of cross out. So look at what's given, where you're trying to go, and then if it's going to be an algebraic problem, you'll want to assign a variable to your unknown or unknowns. Usually in this class we'll just have 1. We might have 2 at times, but as you move up you'll get more and more variables, and you want to define them. So anytime you're using X, you got to just say what that is for the reader to know and for you to track it in the end as well. The next step would be to make a plan. So you're going to write a number sentence, maybe you'll use a standard formula, or you're going to create an equation that represents the problem. Like you'll just kind of make that up yourself using the variable that you defined. So think about what the relationships are, you know, of what you identified up here as your what do you need to find, what do you already know. Break down the problem to phrases and maybe do like a little kind of word equation, and then translate that over to numbers and symbols. Choose a tool. So here's just several things that you could use: guess and check, make an organized list, draw a picture or diagram, look for a pattern, make a table, use a variable. You could solve a simpler problem, experiment, act it out, work backwards, use deduction, or change your point of view. So those are just some little things that might kind of steer you in the right direction. We can, as we use things, we'll touch on them. We're probably going to use more of this side here. Carry out the plan. Use your skills to write up a solution showing all possible steps where applicable. So whatever you're doing, maybe it's an equation that you wrote up, you got to solve that out, show the steps as you've been doing. If it's kind of more like a number sentence thing or just computations, you're maybe can use your calculator, but you've got to write out what you're typing into your calculator so that the reader can see it and know what's going on in the problem. And if something ends up not being correct with the final answer, that's where, you know, I can look at it for partial credit. Number 4, reflect and report the solution in a sentence with context, meaning, and appropriate units of measure. So if it's, you know, an area that you're finding, if you just say 24. That's not complete, but you could say the area of the floor is 24 square feet or something like that. So you would have the units of measure on there. You've got some context. Some things are a little more generic than others. Maybe units weren't given, but if they are, you want to use them. And just look back. Does it make sense? Is it a reasonable answer? Kind of reflect on your own learning is helpful. Check your arithmetic by working backwards, estimating or ballparking. So that's like if you end up with the dimensions of something were the 6 by 4 and you got the 24 square feet and you end up with a number like 0.2, that's probably not fitting the data given. You can also take your result and plug it into your equation, or better yet, plug it back in to see if it makes sense in the original word problem itself. Write the answer in a complete sentence and read it aloud. So I talked about this. I mean, you don't necessarily need to read it aloud, but sometimes when you say something out, it just helps make more sense to you. So this is just an intro video. I'm going to go through some examples. I'll do a couple for decimals, a couple for fractions, and I will also do some equations, and then you will complete the participation practice problems and submit them. Have a great day.